Hello, friends. So, this isn't a topic I was necessarily planning on discussing at this moment, but my body decided to wake me up at 4 a.m. today, and so it's top of mind. So, let's get into it. Insomnia, stage fright, and imposter syndrome. But first, hi, I'm Roshni Lamino. I am an actor, voiceover artist, fantasy author, former singer songwriter, game developer. I wear a lot of creative hats. And this channel is just kind of me collecting my thoughts, things people have asked me as I go to different conventions, uh, me just musing on a life in entertainment, and pulling back the curtain also on some behind the scenes stuff of my writing process. So it's just kind of a mishmash. Come along for the ride. You know where all the buttons are, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Okay, so why does 4 in the morning make me want to talk about this topic? I spent several years as a touring singer-songwriter, and I would play 150 shows a year. And even though it was like my full-time job for quite some time, without fail, the day before I would go on tour, and when I went on tour, if I did a countrywide tour, it would be like several months. So I'd be gone for like 2 or 3 months out of the year, and I always toured spring, summer, and fall. So like I my brain is already shot, and the week hasn't even begun. Um, I'm originally from Michigan, so I would either do weekend gigs in Michigan or I would go on the road for 3 months. And so if I was going on the road for 3 months, without fail, the day before I would leave for tour, I would not be able to sleep. Which you're like, "Oh, that's great, because I have to drive 6 hours and play a 3-hour gig and somehow make it to my hotel or wherever I was staying," and I don't know how I powered through that first night. The first night was always just so hard to get through. And then once I was on the road and on tour and everything, it was fine and I settled in. And I had a great time and I loved it. But it was just like, holy moly, just getting through that first day. And I think it came to top of mind because I'm in the middle of, I should say, a period of a couple gigs, which, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the work because it's been very quiet and it's very welcome. I'm very grateful to have the work. Um, but it's funny because it's several days of being on several different projects. I would prefer to be on one project for several days versus like, oh my gosh, what am I doing now? Like I literally looked at my calendar and my mind just sort of short circuited and then melted because I was like, I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. I don't know. I have to memorize this. I have to do this. What do I need to bring? Blah, blah, blah. And then I have to do it all again the next day. And it's a different location. And I won't know until the day before what I'm doing. And I'm like, you know. So, and as much as I love these projects, it does take a little bit out of me. I always have to schedule in like a day of rest afterwards where I just basically sit on the couch and like watch paint dry. So because it's so many days back to back to back, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like 3 or 4 days of me just sitting on the couch being a vegetable because it'll have taken that much energy out of me. And I already know this going into it. So although by the time this runs, I'll have gotten through, hopefully, that several week period. And I'll be on the couch watching paint dry. I need to buy paint so I can go watch it dry. Um, but yeah, so it's funny because today, which is like technically really one of my only days off, my body decided to wake me up at 4 in the morning just in case I missed it. And I was like, no, that's tomorrow. What are you doing? And it just struck me that even after all these years, I still have that. I still have that kind of that like, kind of feeling, even though I've been in entertainment for a very long time and I've been a performer for a very long time, I still get stage fright. I still have, imposter syndrome feelings. I kind of wonder if they're also sort of interconnected. I don't know if anyone's ever done like the psychology of stage fright and imposter syndrome. I know they're technically two separate things, but I wonder if they are kind of tied together. So I want to just talk a little bit about that and how I overcome them, if I've ever overcome them, because apparently I have not. So I think the thing with stage fright is, so to define stage fright, you have like a crippling fear before you're supposed to give a performance or give a speech or do anything like public facing, right? Public speaking or whatever. You get really like nervous about it. And I'll get stage fright like before I have to go to a convention. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've got to interact with a ton of people. What am I going to say? How am I going to pitch my book? What if I, whatever. Like you just start running through all those scenarios. And then imposter syndrome is obviously a little bit different where you have this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be, people are going to think I'm a fraud and they're going to think I can't do this job, even though you might have a proven track record of doing that kind of work and being good at it, right? And imposter syndrome, it can hit you in any capacity. It's not just entertainment. If you're a scientist, if you're a doctor, if you're a whatever, you worry, oh my gosh, people are going to find out I'm not a good surgeon. I'm not a good particle physicist, or I don't know, what have you. Um, and so those kinds of things. And I would think, maybe doctors and stuff get stage fright, right? Like, the night before a big surgery, maybe they get frightened. What if this is the day that my hands fail me and I can't, do something precise? Or, what if this is the day I slip up and I blow up the lab? I don't know. I'm sure every profession, has that. Lawyers, right? Like they have to go and do a trial. Maybe they're worried about having to speak before the court. So I'm sure everybody has some sort of stage fright and imposter syndrome feeling in there. It's always hard on the first day, I think. I think especially it's hard on the first day and it's hard when you haven't done it in a while. So, like, let's say, for example, you're like, okay, cool. I know I can act. I know I can sing. I know I can paint, but maybe you haven't done it in a while. And so then when you finally do have to go on stage again and sing, or have to go on stage again and perform, or pick up your paintbrush again, you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't done it in 2 or 3 weeks. What if? And then you start to freak out. Hold for sound. They're doing the garbage pickup right now. Hold for sound. I don't know if it'll come on actually, because this is actually pretty good about not picking up that stuff. So part of it is repetition and doing it. And once you get in it, I think the imposter syndrome kind of fades away. I know for me, once I actually start doing it and I'm in the gig and I'm doing them day by day by day, it's gone. Um, And then as far as stage fright goes, I think it's the same thing too, right? And that's why I say I think they're sort of linked. You run through those what if scenarios, but then once you're actually on the stage giving the presentation, doing the performance, or you're actually in the room doing the surgery, doing the trial, you're in it. And you don't sit there going, "Oh my gosh, what if?" because you're in the moment of it. And I think with stage fright and a little bit of imposter syndrome, it's funny, somebody did ask me years ago how I got through stage fright, and I was like, "I would take a nap." I would take a nap before I went on stage, because I would wake up kind of groggy, and so, like, you're really relaxed, but we don't have the luxury of taking a nap before you go on a trial or surgery or something. I'm just saying, it was just kind of funny, like, I'm like, "Yeah, I just fall asleep." Um, but kidding aside, I think with that stuff, with stage fright and with imposter syndrome, we'll get to imposter syndrome in a minute. Not just power through it, but it's really a thing of being in the moment. This is something I think for actors especially, like, we hear, "Be in the moment," right? Like, you deliver the line like you've heard this dialogue for the first time, and the dialogue is coming to you for the first time, instead of it being rehearsed and you're like, "Da, da, 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 da," and you're very robotic about it. But part of being in the moment is being in the moment as a human. For example, oh my word, there's like a freaking cop chase or something happening outside. I don't know if you can hear that. Whatever. Um, oh, my light just went out too. But oh well. Uh See, that's what I'm talking about, being in the moment. We're just gonna fly on this one here. Um, or actually maybe I can let's see here. My little hack here. That's better. Okay. See, I got a light back. Um, Part of being in the moment, besides acting and that kind of performance tip, is just seriously living day to day. For example, this is what I was saying before I got interrupted by the lighting issue. I do a lot of cons now. I do a lot of tabling. And when I first started doing them, I would plan weeks in advance. I had a checklist. How many books do I need to bring? Do I have everything? Blah, 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 blah. And now I think because I'm doing them so much, I look at the calendar, I go, oh, well, wow, I'm gonna go to a con in 3 days. Okay, well, guess I'll pack things. And it doesn't phase me anymore. And I don't worry about missing things, because either I didn't need it to begin with, or I can make do on the fly, or it's only a few hours and I can live without whatever item it was I thought I needed. Um, and so I don't overpack and I don't overbring and I don't, you know, miss things or misplace things. Um, and so part of it is just that ease of like being in the moment and not worrying about it'll come to you, right? Especially if now on the imposter syndrome side, you've done it a lot. If you've done a bazillion surgeries, then it'll the hand, right? The memory will come to you. If you've done a lot of trials, what to say, for the judge and jury is going to come to you. If you've rehearsed that script a million times, it's going to come to you. And so you don't have to worry, you just have to sort of step back and let your body and let your muscle memory take over. You've done it a lot. You are not an imposter. Just step back and let it happen and be in the moment for it. One of the best things I ever did for myself as a creative, and I really suggest this for everybody, especially if you're early on in your career and you're unsure about your progress. And people can do it a billion different ways. This is what I did. I had what I called a win wall. So I bought like 3x5 index cards. They're cheap, pack of what, 500 for 79 cents, like that. And I decided what a win was. I got a call back. Cool. I would write call back this date for this project. And I put it up on my door. I booked this project. Cool. I booked it. This is the project. Um, I got offered a role instead of me having to audition for it. Awesome. I had 10 auditions this week. Great. I got a new agent. Awesome. Whatever. And you can put personal wins, you can put professional wins. You decide what a win is in your life. I did it for about 3 or 4 years. The first year, I put it on my bathroom door and I would tape it. I would start in January. I would date each one and I would go to December 31st. The first year I had about a third of the door full. Second year about half. And by the time I stopped doing it, that door was full. I did take pictures. I think the pictures are somewhere lost in time after you get so many phones and transfer information. So I don't know if I've had pictures. If I do, I'll find them, I'll post them. But it was really gratifying to see that I was making progress. And that from year one, where I just had like a third of that door filled, to the final year where that door was full, I was like, wow, I'm making progress. And it was a really good feeling. And I do not worry so much about imposter syndrome anymore because I can look back on those moments and go, I'm making progress. You know, do I sometimes feel like, am I an imposter in writing? Maybe if I compare myself to like best selling authors. Yeah, sure. Would I love to sell millions of books and all that? Of course. Who wouldn't? But I also know I've gotten paid writing gigs. I've been in a on staff, and I've been in a writer's room. I have published several novels, which most I hope are well received. I don't think I'm an imposter, you know? And if I feel that way, I can go back to those wins and say, I'm not an imposter. So it's a very important thing if you ever do suffer from imposter syndrome to document your wins. So you have something to go back and look at and go, I can do this. And that is probably the best way I can suggest for you getting over imposter syndrome. As far as insomnia goes, if you have a tip for me, let me know because there have been times where I have not slept for an entire month because hello, insomnia. So, anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any tips or tricks that help you get over stage fright and or imposter syndrome or insomnia, let me know in the comments. If you'd like to read one of my novels, you can do so. I'll put that in the show notes. I have two fantasy series out. Actually, I'll be starting a Kickstarter for a special edition for one pretty soon. So I'll put that information in the show notes as well. Um, and hopefully I survive the next week or so. And I'll let you know what color paint I buy to watch dry on my walls. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.